Celebrate good times, people. Let's just celebrate. Welcome to the light version of 80s Cool in the Gang. This is your DJ. This is Wolfman Jack coming to you from New Mexico, and I'm talking to you about our newest hit from a band called Cool in the Gang. They're bringing the
Kool-Aid in the Gang.
Kool-Aid and the Gang. They're bringing that cool R&B sound, kind of overlapping from the 70s right into the 80s, folks. Dig that stuff, baby.
IoT Kool-Aid.
Yes.
Y'all have great radio voices. Both of
you. There's a reason for that.
What about now? Let's do our Darth Vader voices. Luke, I am your father.
You know, I was just watching Tommy Boy the other night, and I do love the scene when he's got the fan going, and he's like, Luke, I am your father. Yes, that's a great scene, you know. Tommy Boy, it's one of my favorite funny movies. And I have to say, after watching it again, not only was it just hilarious, but it's actually kind of heartwarming, because if you really pay attention, you see they drive by all the closed down factories that are in the Rust Belt there. And I've seen those myself going through Ohio. I remember driving from the Detroit airport to Toledo, and all I saw was shut down factories everywhere. And so the fact that he saves the factory, saves the job, saves the town, that's a real thing, actually, and it's kind of a heartwarming story there, aside from being really funny. So there you go, folks.
Great show.
Yes.
You know what I was thinking when y'all were doing your voices is my husband has got this crazy hang up, because he's like, what is going on in the world? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, if you notice, especially on these reality shows that cover all these younger, way younger than us, but not that much, right? Because we're not that old. Yeah. But they all have this vocal fry going on where they talk like this, and it has this little, and he's like, every show we watch, he's like, what is going on? Everybody has vocal fry. And I'm like, I didn't know what he was talking about. And now I'm listening, and now I'm way more cognizant of it. I'm watching shows, and I'm like, yep, there goes another one. There goes another one.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I don't know if it's because they talk so much slower.
I think it was, I think it was, honestly, it was Paris Hilton who started all of that.
Yeah. I'm like, what is that? What is this vocal fry?
Oh, yeah, that's weird. I'll have to listen for it now. Actually, I'm probably going to hear it everywhere now that you mentioned it, and it's going to annoy the crap out of me.
It's not like how our generation speaks, but the younger generation, they a lot of them have vocal fry.
Yeah. Wow. I have no idea what that is, but
they don't have radio voices, no.
They don't have radio voices.
There you go.
No, it's all good. Sorry, I'm late. I was running around.
There is no late, man. You come in when you come in.
He's
but
just clairvoyant.
Yeah.
Exactly. And but Stephanie, you are 100% correct. I have heard that. I thought it was a Southern California thing, because that's, all of the, and what it reminds me of is, remember when the Valley Girls were talking to me?
Oh my God! Thinking that
it's a remake. It's a remake, and it is about as annoying as it can be. I kind of want to just grab them and shake them and get your real voice out.
Drink some tea, hot tea.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, Bill, these guys left me hanging. I played a classic 70s R&B tune to celebrate our 101st episode, peoples.
101.
What?
101.
101. This is all the rock from the 70s.
So is this IoT 101?
They left me hanging, dude. I was sitting there going, woohoo, and they didn't do the celebration part.
Stephanie's your instructor for IoT 101.
Oh, no.
Class is in session.
The class is in session. The doctor's in the house.
Dr. Atkinson.
Oh, so we're gonna have to.
Dr. Atkinson is gonna learn you something about IoT.
I do get. I have a Google alert. Like you can set it to where when something happens with your name, that you can get alerts because I like to see people putting press releases out and stuff. Well, there is a Dr. Stephanie Atkinson in the United States, and she's all over the place because I keep getting her alerts. So.
Oh, really? Wow, that's funny. Hey, speaking of 101, maybe that's a really great topic for us to talk about because I was like, before we jumped on, I was mulling what we would have as a theme for this particular episode. But I mean, this is our 101st episode, and maybe this whole 101 theme, we take it all the way back to the beginning and ask the question, so now what is IoT? What does it maybe become? Because, I think there's still people who go, well, what is the IoT? There's this debate. But in your guys' minds, how has it changed over the last 100 episodes? And maybe what do we discover and what would we tell our audience in terms of our thoughts of, how is IoT morphed? Because a lot of things have happened, right?
We're taking it back to the old school because I'm an old school. Who's so cool?
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
Hey, this will be the kindergarten version. The 101.
Look, I'll tell you this. IoT is about putting your money where your mouth is.
Boom.
Exactly.
Boom.
That's what it's about. Ask Elon Musk.
Ask Elon Musk.
Oh man,
he's putting his money
have to
where
go
his
there.
mouth is.
Yes, I love that you have that mic that can get that deep sound.
I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I got my 44 billion in my pocket, and I'm gonna buy Twitter. We're gonna make that free speech happen for everybody.
It's the rap episode.
Oh my!
People don't want free speech, as it turns out.
It's the Barry White episode.
Really?
What did he do? Did he post? Was it today or yesterday that the Truth Social they're being downloaded at a higher rate than Twitter? He screenshotted it.
Really? Truth? I don't even know what that is. What is that? Is that somebody else's platform?
Yeah,
is that Trump's?
I think it's Trump's.
Oh, wow.
But I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
I haven't downloaded it.
Look at the stock number on.
Yeah. You know what? Do you guys know Nick Thompson? He's the editor-in-chief for The Atlantic. He used to run Wired. He always does a nice video every week, like the biggest thing in tech. And so he had to do a quick one. Obviously, the biggest thing in tech clearly has been this Twitter acquisition. And he actually just looked
anymore. Yeah. Keep going.
He looked at it from just the economics. He's just like, he goes, Twitter has outsized influence in certain areas, news, trending things, viral things, but it doesn't make any money. That's
what I'm talking about.
That's what she's talking about, people. It's underperforming. And
no one's talking about the price he paid.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, 44 billion is a lot of money for something that only makes about $5 billion a year. It's not a big moneymaker. It's not even a gnat compared to Facebook. Facebook just, has 3 billion people. And even though we blast Facebook every day about how horrible it is, it's just cranking out the dough.
And we're still on it.
Yeah. And so, and Elon talks about new features. I mean, when's the last time Twitter added something meaningful? I mean, they do a lot of Me Too stuff. They put on Spaces to copy Clubhouse.
Yeah, but hey, who cares? Isn't it okay if they don't make a ton of money?
It's not okay.
Good utility.
It's not okay.
Right. I don't really care because I'm not an investor.
No, I don't know why there's this expectation that companies like this should be like massive companies, massively profitable. I mean, if it serves a purpose, it provides a certain type of value. And keep in mind, this is a freemium business model. They don't charge any of their subscribers anything, but they're still able to retain a large number of people. What?
You just said the word subscribers. There are no subscribers, but Elon has floated.
They're not paying.
Twitter. Elon has floated the idea, though, of subscribers and paying a subscription to be on Twitter. And that's the big question. Would you pay some amount of money per month to be on Twitter?
No, not as a passive user. I would not. I don't see a lot of people who would. And the ability to replace platforms like this have become much easier, and we've seen that now with Netflix. They've lost their differentiation on distribution and network. So you know what? I mean, I think people are just smoking crack. This is such an idiotic topic. I really don't even like talking about it.
He doesn't like talking about it.
Not that we're talking about it right now, but the whole free speech thing is so twisted. This has nothing.
He doesn't believe in free speech.
I mean, I watched a YouTube, a TED talk that featured Elon, and I'll just say go and watch it, and then but first go and read up on what is really free speech and who's obligated to ensure that. And it's only the government. None of these platforms are obligated to give you a voice. They have the absolute right to moderate.
You take it
and people don't understand that, which is twisted. We don't even understand our own.
But what he's doing right now,
people got to do their homework.
What Leonard's doing now, though, is kind of the marquee of a successful talk show, or like on CNN or on ESPN. You have to stir the pot and get people going crazy, throwing chairs at each other if you want people to join.
Hitting people over the heads with guitars.
He's the joy
You got to bring Jerry Springer back.
Yeah. We got Leonard Lee is the Larry Springer of IoT.
He said Larry.
Larry Springer.
Jerry Springer.
So does that mean like
he's the Jerry Springer?
I love when we go down a stupid path. Leonard doesn't even want to talk about free speech.
Is this how it's going to go down? This is how episode 101 is going to go down.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Yes.
All right.
Life would be easier if we just talked broadly about tech every week, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And just because there's so much stuff.
Ourselves with IoT.
There's a lot more going on in tech in general than just talking about IoT, for sure. Yeah.
Sure.
It's funny. I'll talk to other people who are doing IoT-ish stuff, and they're like, "Rob, help me! I don't know how to sell this thing, or I don't know what to do, or I can't differentiate." And I'm like, this technology that you've created, what is it really doing? It's moving data from one place to another, and then it's looking at the data, maybe analyzing data. Take a look at close to 100% of the enterprise software apps built in big corporations. What do? They bring data to your screen, you look at it, you type some stuff in, and you send it back to a database. I'm going to say that's a high percentage of all systems in the enterprise. Actually, I know that's oversimplifying it. What I'm getting at here is a lot of these technologies used for IoT could be repurposed for other uses besides IoT, because what are they doing? They're moving data around, right?
Yeah.
Am I oversimplifying it? I sound dense, don't I?
Well, what you're saying is the technology itself is not really differentiated as we see.
Yeah.
But the differentiation comes in how you apply it and how you make money. You make money, Bill. And what are you trying to do? What are you trying to improve? What are you trying to change? Why is it even necessary? Like, that's the differentiation. And most people don't get that. They're trying to differentiate what they're offering versus how someone's consuming it.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Point.
Leonard, that book that we're reading, you're still reading, right?
Yeah, it's really good.
It's got your mind. Doesn't it get your mind going all over the place? Like,
no, you know what? I'm not really. I think I mean, for me, I don't know. The way I've read it, well, and we should probably save this for when Rick gets on. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that it talks about the brain, and that's advanced cognitive functions, intelligence, and stuff. But the way I think of IoT is that it's that sort of interface between your sensory network and the brain. It doesn't necessarily do all the stuff that the rest of the brain does, which is reasoning and, doing the perception stuff. But IoT, it takes all of this information that's being generated by your sensory system, and then it helps you develop an awareness of context, or at least it helps your brain understand what that context is. And so, just like digital twin, totally overloaded. People are going wacky with it. They're trying to attach it to the brain. But the way I look at digital twin is that it's supporting that periphery, a translation between the sensory data and all this like unstructured stuff that comes in to our system, and then starts to map out and cleanse all this information so that the brain can actually process it for higher order stuff. And that's kind of like what I'm getting out of it. But going back to this, fundamental question of what is IoT, I agree with Rob. It's about taking data from one place to another, but you're doing a lot of stuff to take that data from its points of origin to where you want it to go, right? And for a lot of what we're trying to do with IoT is to bring that information, massage it, give it context, or at least meaning, and then inform the organization. Which, if you want to call the brain the organization, well, there you go. It's the brain.
You got to massage that data.
You got to massage it, baby.
Oh yeah. You need to turn data.
Rob.
You need to turn.
I want to hear it.
You got to turn. You got to turn data into meaning, or it's useless.
Right. Isn't that what we've been doing since forever?
The dawn of time.
Since the first industrial revolution.
Ever since
it's all been right.
Ever since we found. Ever in 1969 when we landed on the moon and we found the monolith, that's what we've been doing ever since then.
It's the truth, right? That's what we've been doing.
Yes,
since the beginning. It's been since the can with the string and the can on the other end.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I think that would be the perfect logo for a new IoT company, is the two cans with a string in between.
Wonderful. I'm going to make it, Rob.
You make it. I hear that you're all into that marketing stuff, Stephanie. I hear that marketing is important.
We get your bits where they need to be.
Yeah.
Yes, we get your bits. Exactly.
Yeah.
We got the Dixie cups of IoT right here.
But you got to admit, though, we've been doing. Go ahead.
So here we go, right?
This is that latency I was talking about, the delay, right? Why you can't stay everything up in the cloud.
No, I would say that what the biggest thing for IoT, the most simplified way, is like we're doing our best to work smarter and not harder. Yeah. And that can mean a lot of different things, a lot of different industries, but it's just really simplistic like that. We're trying to automate something. We're trying to remove too many of the human elements that just don't need to be in that particular work activity. And
Stephanie's trying to get rid of the humans.
Yeah, I'm all about robotics and human and machines working together.
Yeah.
Coagulation.
Oh, yeah. Humans and machines working together. They're going to solve a problem.
But we haven't really learned a lot. We haven't learned a lot since we started IoT Coffee Talk. I would say we haven't learned a lot about the changing of the technology. It's really more learning more about how the fact that companies are failing.
Companies are failing.
Oh, geez.
That's what we've learned a lot, is like what's not working. That's probably the biggest like gotchas is don't do this. This is not working. You guys are not selling in the right way. You're not communicating in the right way.
Stephanie's about to drop Occam's razor on you. Whatever's not working, whatever's left has to be the thing that's working.
IoT 101. Dr.
Boom. Yeah. Boom. Yeah, exactly. So Same
By the
planet.
way, I like that Arches picture a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
is that in Canyonlands or Arches?
It's in Canyonlands. It's,
Okay.
you know, it's
I laid in that arch.
that is Mesa Arch in Canyonlands, and it competes with the Delicate Arch for the most photographed arch.
You know what? I actually enjoyed Canyonlands a lot better in terms of getting close to the elements compared to Arches.
I agree. I think Canyonlands. In fact, I should just drive there today. I'm a Moab fan. That's a great little town, isn't it?
It is. Again, that's where I was stuck when the pandemic hit.
I remember. Is that when you had that awesome RV that you took up there?
Yeah, and we started watching the news and we found out that our hometown was already sold out groceries wise. Like all the grocery stores were like sold out. And so we're like in the middle of Moab right before we leave, and we're like going to their grocery store, which is very tiny, and grabbing what we could. Like, we didn't know what to expect once we got home, and there really wasn't any stores. But the good thing about the RV was the pandemic hit. No one wanted to be anywhere. No one wanted to be exposed to anything. So we were in our bubble the whole way home. And my husband's like, don't get out to use the restroom. Don't get out to get food. I'll get gas. Don't do anything. So that's my story.
That's a great story. You know, we did see, you know, varying levels of intensity on how people have react over the last 2 years to the pandemic. Like, kind of to your point, I know all kinds of people who barely ever walked outside their house. And they were all about Instacart and Uber Eats and whatever. And they were terrified out of their minds to walk outside even. And then there were other people like me who flaunted it and never got sick. I don't know.
You still have it?
I've never got sick. No.
And I've had it twice.
Yeah, I've never had it, but I mean, I wear a mask. I wash my hands. There's nothing. I think if you're going to be out and about, you just don't be stupid. And
you know, Stephanie, you know how we know that you got it, how you got infected is you don't really notice it, but because of the way the signal is on this, there's a little kind of purplish twinkle in your eye that tells me that you've been taken over. And that, you know, everybody thinks it was a pandemic, but it was the aliens are doing that to take everybody over. And so I'm really sorry. In fact, you're infiltrating our group right now.
I haven't heard of that particular conspiracy theory. I have read a lot of crazy ones during the pandemic.
We are dropping a new conspiracy theory. The whole thing was done by aliens. They're going to infect the population. It's like the body snatchers, but not as extreme.
Have you read that this was a test? Like, people are saying this was a test. The food shortage is coming, and this is coming. I'm like, what in the like? There are some crazy people out there. Hey, and they're all on Twitter.
They are on Twitter. Well, think about preppers.
Oh yeah, they're ready.
The preppers are ready. I've got 10 years of freeze-dried food ready to go in my bomb shelter.
You know what? The pandemic didn't make me want to go get a generator, but you know what? That Texas freeze did.
Yeah, I bet.
That was bad.
So is it safe to say that you avoided another Texas freeze this year? Everything okay?
It is not happening, and now we're in a drought.
Oh, great.
You know, in fact, I'm just going to post some. I read something from because you know me, I'm always talking about the end of the world that's happening in California, no water and agriculture and humans fighting for fresh water with farmers. And the state of California just issued a whole new level of restrictions. And it is like the frog boiling in the pot. They knew this stuff was coming for a long time, but it's interesting reading the undercurrents of the different, different committees, all the different small towns, large cities. They're, you know, all saying, well, dang it, we don't want our trees to die, or we need to make sure our parks in our little town are still green.
Our golf courses. And I'm like, it's over. You need to adopt the Tucson way of life. Yeah. Tucson embraces the fact that they're in the desert. And if you're going to live in the desert, you need to embrace it. And you need to live like you're in the desert. You got to start developing gravel clubs for golf. Instead of having,
As Bill knows,
just play with sand wedges.
Yeah, as Bill knows very well,
California, no long game, it's short game.
California is just a coastal desert.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And we've been pretending it's otherwise. And the gang it's up. It's over. The water's gone.
Well, maybe
and we've known about the water being gone for quite a while. And they're only 3 years into
I thought you were going to solve the desalination.
I have solved it. I just need $44 billion to build the infrastructure to implement what I solved.
Yeah.
You're welcome, everybody, by the way.
Okay,
you need to tweet that.
Okay.
Otherwise it will never be heard.
I'm going to tweet it today.
The other idea is, since we're getting rid of energy, right? We're getting rid of our oil. We can use those pipelines to move water.
Yeah, that would be great.
What?
That makes sense.
Texas has some water. We can give you some.
Absolutely.
Not from Lake Austin or
yes.
Medina Lake over here in Bandera is like at 22%, I think, or 33%.
Oh, it's washing out.
Oh, it's like horrible.
Yeah.
Unprecedented water restrictions order as MWD declares water shortage emergency. What is MWD? Anyway.
I remember my husband saying this like 10 years ago. He's like, the next world disaster.
Metropolitan water
He
district.
did not predict a pandemic, but he did say we will have a war over water.
Absolutely, we will. Absolutely.
Water world.
And I'm like,
Kevin Costner.
I mean, that doesn't, I don't know why, I personally, I don't know why that surprises people, especially when you're talking about, we lose water from distribution to the point of service. We lose on average 43+% of the water.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Bill's got it. And it's not just the drought, Colorado River. I mean, when I was on my road trip, I went and stayed, right there in Page, Arizona on Lake Powell. And I drove around Lake Powell and it's like the water is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, Lake Powell and Lake Mead are the nation's two primary giant reservoirs. And it's like the bottom of the bathtub,
Ugh.
Yeah, but so because this is an IoT show.
Stir the pot, buddy. Stir the pot.
But how so all these efforts, these technologies are supposedly they can enable solutions to solve these problems, but isn't that like the problem that we have with the IoT is we try to we think that it can solve these big problems, but the problems are usually structural, or they're the solutions, or the problem is out of our hands. We don't have any control over it other than our collective behavior. Isn't that sort of like the problem that we have with IoT, even in the industrial or business applications that we're trying to make money on? Some of these problems are either way too small, or the solution really isn't the technology connecting crap. It's really the organization having to do something at a broader level than just.
Are you saying the human problem or the human element?
Yeah, or just the infrastructure, the nature of the infrastructure. You're assuming that you can inject let's say flexibility into supply chain, for instance, but structurally it's just not geared that way. And so
we used to have
using technology to try to change physics. You know what I'm saying? There's like virtual, and then there's reality, but reality will always trump virtual, because it's like the virtual hamburger. It doesn't satisfy your appetite. It doesn't fill your stomach, no matter how much you try to make virtual as close to reality as possible. It's just not real.
So we used to have good supply chain, like where we had flexibility built into it before everyone adopted just-in-time lean manufacturing. We used to carry lots of inventory and stuff like that. But people abandoned that because of money, because it costs money to hold that extra inventory. But that's how we used to operate in the olden days.
Yeah.
And then we went to and then we built everything has to work in perfection. But when it's working in perfection, just in time is the best thing ever. And it's where you make the most money. But when perfection goes away, you're hosed in a big way because you there's no slack. There's no,
there literally is no slack because there's a thing called Slack.
That's right. That's right. Yes, exactly.
But, isn't it? I mean, I think Leonard. I think you were right, 100%. I mean, we've tried to overlay technology on top of failing infrastructure.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is the problem. I mean, when I look at, and we don't even have to go back that far. Just look at what smart grid and all the stimulus dollars were targeted towards smart grid, when in actuality it was meter reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The element of meter reading was then the gateway drug to behavior change. Because if I give you as a consumer insight into how you're using your energy, then you will change your behavior against that information that I'm giving you. Right. And what we actually failed to address was, well, what about the delivery system of that energy? And all of a sudden it was like, we're going to go solar, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And misunderstanding that energy since the dawn was only meant to go in one direction. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, some odd 20 years later, we're going, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we'll do this bi-directional thing and we'll start to, evolve over that. Still have not addressed the larger infrastructure question, which those things are not sexy.
No.
It's just all about
not sexiness.
Right? No, I mean, that's what people want. IoT. Yeah. I think IoT has done what it is. We just said that it is moving bits from point to point. So if it's a thing and it's connected to the internet, one way, shape, or form, it's a cloud. IoT is doing what it's supposed to do. What we collectively as, I'll say solution thinkers, whatever, we're not addressing the larger problem, which is what about the infrastructure that is meant to deliver the solutions or meant to deliver the needs that the larger majority of society is looking for. Those things just aren't sexy. People don't want to fix that. Right.
Yeah. And
speaking of energy generation and all that stuff, I also read another article yesterday saying, I'm going to say this wrong way, but it has to do with wind power and turbines. You may have read the same article, how it's been a catastrophic market failure. Wind power has been a market failure. They're not bashing wind power, but they're saying it's a complete catastrophic market failure. It costs too much to build. It's the maintenance on it. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There was this whole big article that came out yesterday, and it's not the Siemens, GE, all the people making the giant turbines, the blades, they're not making any money. And you know what happens when you're not making it?
They're burying the old ones, the blades in West Texas in the ground. That's supposed to be a green energy thing, but we're burying the old equipment. It just doesn't make sense.
And so while we hear people all the time going, oh, wind is this or wind is great or it sucks or whatever, this was another view of that saying it's just not a good business. And so the companies that can afford to build those giant things are saying, wow, this turned out to be not a good business. And you know what happens? They might pull out of that business, if it's not a moneymaker, right? Unless the government comes in. Right. Anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting just on Bill's point of just we're trying to do all this stuff and put power back on the grid. And
the idea was good, but the business itself is not successful.
Yes, but luckily Marc Poos is here and he's going to save the planet.
How's it going, actually, I miss everything, but I think that this is how Europe works, right? We give public money to companies that are not succeeding. big corporations, not like a small company. So this is how maybe here it makes sense to have these or install the wind turbines because they get a lot of public funding.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Not sure how the public funding works in the U.S.
Well, and with the infrastructure funding that the U.S. is like, they got all these different pillars that are focused on revitalization, or this, that, and the other. But sustainability and green, the municipalities becoming more green and, sustainability conscientious. That's still a factor of the infrastructure funding as well.
I mean, talk to folks in Hawaii about their energy challenges. I mean, there's so much solar there, and
they live they live too far away from everything else, right? They need to. That's the real life. Huh? That's the real thing to live there, right?
Tough stuff. Yeah, I remember the first time I ever went to Hawaii when I drove into Hawaii in my submarine back a million years ago.
I can't.
And so, but I remember, we had like the weekend off. And so you get off, you leave Pearl and go into Honolulu. And I remember stupidly, I'm going to go to the McDonald's right there by the beach, by Waikiki Beach. And I remember that the quarter pounder with cheese meal was like $10 or $11. And this was a long time ago. And I was like, wow, why is it so expensive? And people looked at me like I was an idiot. You're on an island far away from everything.
Yeah.
Even the cheapest things in the world are expensive. Yeah.
It's interesting.
By the Marc, way, did you talk about the topic of the week? Elon Musk acquiring Twitter?
We did, but we
bring it back.
Marc, we need your opinion. What do you think about this?
No, actually, I had a really interesting lunch today. Yeah, it's already 6 p.m. here, or almost 6 p.m. So we had an interesting conversation about is evil or God, Elon Musk? What do you think? So talking about as well solar panels and so on. What do you think about that as a U.S. citizen?
About Elon?
Yeah.
Is he a god? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy?
Yeah. Is he doing this, of course, for financial things, right? He wants to get more money, but at least not Twitter. I am not talking about the Twitter operation, but all the other operations. Do you think that he's making all of these for the good of the people, or just for his pocket?
Tesla, building tunnels, now Twitter.
No.
Starship.
Rockets.
Does it have to be, does everything everyone does individually, is it always for the good of mankind? Or do most people live in their own world usually, and they're just doing their thing? And it may or may not be for the good of all people. Who knows? Like the same things that people say about Steve Jobs or other, they'll no matter what his personality was like or whatever, they'll still say there's nothing that he could say or do that would ever get him off my top 5 list of people I admire the most, even if he was a total jerk. And I feel the same way about Elon. You can say whatever you want to. It's funny when I would tell my kids and show them stuff like the Apollo landings and all the stuff, I was like, what do you think about the notion that our most advanced days, at least in the US, were in the 1960s? You might say, well, that's crazy, Dad. What are you talking about? No, we're so much more. It's like, are we? When was the last time we pushed the envelope like we did in the 60s?
Yeah.
It's the 60s. And so Elon is the first person to come along to put a dent in the universe, like Steve Jobs always talked about. And he's just going for it. And yeah, he's almost lost everything multiple times with Tesla and with SpaceX, but he's somehow survived. And that's life, right? We take chances. We almost lose it all. And we pick up dust ourselves off and we go after it again. And so when this Starship that he's building down in South Texas that can carry 100 people with all those Raptor engines, when that thing is going to the moon and then going to Mars, how are people going to look on Elon Musk? he was this one person just pushing. And that I feel that's what we need. And so the Twitter thing feels like a sideshow a bit to me. I'm not really 100% sure why he got so focused on Twitter, because that's not his main thing at all.
Yeah.
I remember when I was reading 0 to 1 from Peter Thiel, because he and Peter Thiel are good friends because they both did PayPal together. And they both said after they made their money when they sold out of PayPal, that they were only going to go after kind of what people refer to as hard tech or deep tech science, not stupid websites stuff like you see in Silicon Valley. Obviously, Peter Thiel failed right away because he was the first investor in Facebook, which I guess paid off okay. But Elon was the example of, I'm not doing any more stupid website startups. We're going to do hard things. You know, I always think of, you always see the video of President Kennedy when he's given that speech about going to the moon, but he also said something else. We do these things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. And I am such a fan of people getting off their ass and start doing hard things and solving hard things. It's just like this silly stuff we're reading today about in the LA Times about California. Like, oh my God, I just discovered there's no water. We've all talked about and written about how to solve that. Somebody do it. Do the hard thing. But people are like a bunch of frogs in the boiling pot. And they're like, you know what? I'm just going to go about my day and someone will handle it for me. What if there's no one out there to handle it for you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like that perspective.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt you have to respect the guy for a lot of his accomplishments, but I think more than anything, his courage and his perseverance, because most people would have given up. And, one thing that I think that people don't tune into is how horrible his experience was. People don't understand that this guy would not wish what he went through on anyone else. And he's actually said that. And, in this interview that I was telling you about, this TED Talk, the moment when he starts to talk about this, and you should watch it.
Is that the one from a few weeks ago? Yeah,
a few weeks ago, before, on the run up to actually having purchased Twitter. This is when, he had just refused the board position, right? Just watch it and look at his expression and that moment, and it says everything. But the thing is that I think the difference between him and what he's accomplished, which is phenomenal. You have to give kudos to the guy for all that he sacrificed, and he sacrificed obviously and apparently a lot because he says it. Is that this is one person versus nation, and that's where I think that's one thing that I think is. For me, a thing I get a little bit uncomfortable about, because we're looking at one person versus leadership of a nation or a community or a people. You know what I'm saying? And so what I see a lot of now with Elon is God worship. That whatever this guy says, you think that it's just right, which I don't necessarily think is correct. I think he's wrong on a lot of things. But again, that doesn't take away from the fact that I do respect him for what he's gone through, the exercise that he's done in bringing about just incredible stuff, right? But that doesn't mean that we don't hold him to account, or he's above the law or above regulation and all this stuff. That there's this whole principle of level playing field, that everyone gets the same chance, everyone's treated equally. And when you have folks who have probably way too much money bending those rules, I mean, we talk about all the time. That's where things can get really iffy really quick. Do you know what I'm saying? Where people's attitudes and personalities can express themselves in ways that may not necessarily, not that they're evil. You're asking the question, is he evil? I don't think he's an evil guy. I think he's just a guy. But the motivations and his ability and power to express his personality, I mean, everyone has a good side and everyone has a dark side. So, We'll see what
I am
happens.
your father.
No, I am your father.
I think you guys are both right. I mean, seriously, it's like, well, I mean, what I respect
That's nothing to do with IoT, by the way.
I respect his ability to challenge not the nation or anything. He challenges himself, and in a number of ways more than he does everyone else.
Oh no! What's this?
His favorite.
I agree. What is this, like a dragon rocket?
Is this a sword? Sword, maybe?
Oh, it's lightsaber.
Jedi.
Oh, no way.
He's got it. He got that at Disney.
Play some music. Play some Republic music.
Is it glowing?
Yeah, it's got light. Oh my goodness.
I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure about the perception of sustainability and ecology in the US, but here, at least in Europe or in Spain, the perception of someone who is who loves the ecology or recycling or sustainability, solar panel, I don't know, like sustainable energy and so on. It's someone who is left. It's left on the politics. It's not liberal at all. No, and I think that having Elon Musk, or with all of these sustainability things and so on, it's just exploding the brains of a lot of people because he's obviously not left on politics, right?
I think it's kind of. I think he's kind of an enigma because people just people are so bad. I think especially these past few years is if you think this way, then you're completely all that way. If you think over here, then you're completely like I'm one of those people that I'm Republican, but I'm very socially conscious. I have a lot of liberal views on things that my Republican friends would probably their jaws would drop. So I don't understand why our country has moved to a position to where, just like with Elon, just because he's green and he's sustainable and he built Tesla, that he doesn't have some conservative views in some other areas. That's what I mean. Like people just assume, oh, he's this. Now they're like, he bought Twitter and he's talking about free speech. Screw him. I'm getting off the platform. I'm like, they really don't know him. They're just making assumptions. So I don't know. I don't know what his views are, but it's all over the place.
That's why I think, I mean, for me, when I looked at it, and so if someone said, can you put that into words, what he just did? I was like, shut up or I'll shut you up. Flat out.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
I'll just buy it.
That's Bill. I was thinking he did the same thing. He was looking at something and he just saw a pattern of some things he didn't like. And he's like, screw it, I'm just going to buy it. And that's what he did. And he came out and he tweeted, hey, this is my final offer. Either some things need to change or I'll have to consider what I do with my money. You know what? Everybody shut up. I'm just going to buy it.
Everybody just shut up. I'm going to buy it. Company. Put your money where your mouth is. Isn't that how we started this session today, Bill? Yeah. What is IoT?
Exactly.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Put your money where your mouth is.
It ain't show friends. It's show business. Does anybody remember Bob Sugar saying that to Jerry Maguire? Anyway, when he fired him.
What did he say?
It ain't show friends. It's show business.
Oh, yeah.
But actually, if you think on all the Elon Musk projects, it's full of IoT inside of them, but there is no IoT wording anywhere. So the car is completely connected, right? All the solar stations are completely connected. The spaceships are completely connected, but there is no IoT on any of the websites, etc. So maybe this is as well one interesting mindset. So stop saying IoT. Start connecting things. I have a dog here.
It's buried inside there. It's it.
Yeah. Basically do what I said almost 5 years ago, which is you want to get value out of IoT, stop talking about IoT.
Don't talk about Fight Club either.
Yep.
Yeah.
So are we changing IoT Coffee Talk to some other name?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe that's one of the things we have to contemplate here.
Coffee Talk, Tech Talk, This week in tech. I mean, you're right. Something broader where we talk about broader issues. Yeah. No, I hear you. You know, that's a good point.
We're part of the problem because we say the word IoT a million times ourselves.
Because, you know, obviously the underpinning of other megatrends like Industry 4.0, digital transformation, you know, IoT is one of the primary drivers of all that, right? But it's just living inside there. It's the nervous system. It's the bloodstream of Tesla. When you see a gigafactory, it's the expression of Industry 4.0, and Industry 4.0 is driven by a whole lot of concepts, and IoT is one of them. You know.
And now we're saying that augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality is actually meta. Everything.
So I did listen. I haven't finished. I was listening to podcasts. You guys know Lex Friedman. Anyway, I was listening to Lex Friedman doing a podcast with Mark Zuckerberg, and that's all they're talking about is the metaverse. And talk about some people who are really serious about it. I know we're making fun of the metaverse here and we joke about it. Man, when he's sitting there talking to Zuckerberg, they go in depth and detail.
Well, I take it very seriously because so many things that started in these younger generations, it gets pushed up, right? As they get older, they carry it with them. And my 12-year-old or 11-year-old, he's infatuated with Oculus Quest 2. Now it's called Meta. And I'm like, all of those kids, they're just so enveloped in that. And I'm like, they carry that with them, just like a lot of they used to say way back when the smartphone came out that, that'll never be used in the medical industry. That'll never be used in healthcare. Well, all the young nurses and doctors coming up all had iPhones, and they all started using their phones for medical purposes. So they were forced into it. So maybe Zuckerberg's like, he's all in because he sees these kids.
You should probably listen to this podcast with him and Lex, because the fact that Facebook makes so much money that they can throw the engineering resources at this problem. They know it's going to take a long time.
Can you explain what David shared on our private chat this week about the Meta and where he was on holidays? Maybe you can explain the pictures that he shared.
Oh, he was in Arizona, right?
Exactly, on a national park. Really beautiful.
Oh,
yeah. Can you explain that in a proper English?
That guy, he had the goggles on. He had the VR.
Yeah.
He's sitting there.
I couldn't see it.
Oh my God.
You were able to zoom in and see it?
He walks down to this beautiful place, and there's some guy sitting on the bank of some river or whatever, and he's got his goggles on. Instead of seeing the real beauty around nature, he was in his own. He was in the metaverse instead. So that was kind of crazy.
That is crazy to me.
Well, he might have had a drone.
Literally the most beautiful place.
I know all of our audience really wants to know a lot of details about this lightsaber. So this is like when you go to Disney, obviously people have bought cheap plastic lightsabers forever, but this is the legit thing. And it's not just, I went to Disney and bought a lightsaber. You're paying for a ceremony and you assemble the lightsaber. And so you have to have a reservation. And then you go into this place with all these Jedis, and they're wearing robes, and there's all you people. And so there's 4 types of lightsabers. And then they start off by showing you the different kyber crystals. Remember there's different color. Yeah, the color. There's green, there's red, there's blue, and then there's the rarest one of all, which is violet, which was only used by Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson. And the backstory there is Samuel L. Jackson was talking to George Lucas. He's like, "Hey, since I'm the only black Jedi, I'm gonna pick my own unique color for my lightsaber," and so he got this, and so that's why it's unique. And so I was like, I'm totally going with Mace on this. And so I was the only one who picked this one. If you were picking a red one, then you're in the same ballpark with Vader, and
you're a bad guy.
All the other, yeah, exactly. So, but then you assemble this. This is a heavy piece of metal, and there's all these components, and you put it together.
Wow.
And they're walking you through it, and it's all full on, like you're about to be
super involved.
It is super involved. And then everybody turns them on and holds them up there. And then you hear Yoda's voice talking to you.
This is their creation of an interactive experience that they're giving you.
Yes, and so you get this very high-end lightsaber here, and you paid some good money to be, and you got this 30-minute ceremony where you assembled your lightsaber. I mean,
I paid a lot of money to have my daughters dancing with Cinderella and the rats on a dinner. So probably this is the same for Star Wars.
Yes. But now I'm a true Jedi, which is the takeaway.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now we know
well
what you're
deserved.
saying. Rob is now officially, this is his new job role, his new title.
Yes. Well, don't you remember in Return of the Jedi when Luke arrived on the forest moon and he's talking to Vader, and Vader's like, "Your skills are complete. I see you've assembled your own lightsaber. You are indeed powerful, as the Emperor foretold."
Wow. Pretty
so now
good.
you may retire.
Yeah.
The pinnacle.
Actually, now we're going to go fight the good fight, people.
Yeah.
And we're going to turn those oil pipelines into water pipelines, and we're going to save California.
From IoT 101 to saving the world. The water resources issue.
Turns out it's the same people who are saving the planet that are pushing IoT forward.
Yeah,
Who knew?
Waiting for crisis and disaster.
So what you're saying is we need to act like Elon Musk with this water issue and do the hard things.
Do the hard things. Do the hard things. People need to, so we're talkers and we have great ideas and we talk about it and we write about it. And now we need to connect with De Niro people and execute. And that the whole deal about startups and everything, there's lots of great ideas, comes down to execution, Yeah.
I still think we need to go the desalination route.
Yeah. That ocean next door to California is pretty big. So
we do this here in Barcelona and in Spain.
Yeah. So, one of the things I hear naysayers talk about is all the salt, what do you do with all the salt you're pulling out? Because a lot of people talk about how it's pushed back in to the nearby ocean and creates this really high salt salinity, brackish water. So let's figure out what to do with all that extra salt. Maybe we can make batteries out of it. I don't know.
Okay, guys, I gotta jam. So let's.
What's 11 o'clock?
Do you have a real job, Leonard?
I have a real job. I have to go and,
Yeah, the rest of us are just.
You need to dress up, right? First.
Huh? What?
You need to dress up first, right?
Yeah, I do. That's why I have to get out of here. All right, 101. So looking forward to another 100, and who knows, maybe we'll have a name change.
You never know.
Maybe IoT is not going to be the thing anymore. So who wants to take us out?
We did.
What
talked about saving the world.
Oh, was that it? Crap. Okay.
No,
Thanks for joining us on episode 101 with your favorite Jedi Master. You've learned a lot. We've talked about water. We've talked about Elon. We've talked about Twitter. I think we said IoT one time. Please come back. Please. Anyway, because if you don't, I'm going to get you with the lightsaber, okay? Make sure you have the right kyber crystal. www.iotcoffeetalk.com. Live long and prosper. Come hang out with us. We're here every week. Your favorite fan people for IoT, digital transformation, Industry 4.0, and saving the planet. And we promise you, we are going to save the planet. And we're out. We're out.
IoTCoffeeTalk.com.
See you guys.
Bye.